Hello, everyone, and we are live. Welcome to today's episode of For the Oaks of Africa podcast. And I'm your host, Mr. Nujabo. So glad to have everyone on board today. Thank you for being a part of it. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for putting your PVCs. Yeah, thank you, everybody who has taken the step to do what is necessary to see that our dear nation, Nigeria, gets to. Thank you. The labor of love is seen, it's appreciated, and again, we're right back on another episode. And today, the question of our episode, what we'll be discussing is what happens if good people stay home? What happens if good people stay at home? We believe in this podcast that nations are not transformed by just the politicians alone. We believe that nations are not transformed by the extraordinary people alone. They are transformed when ordinary citizens decide that the future is too important to be left to someone else. So, let's begin. Who's excited? Please send this episode to your friends, to your loved ones, to all those that you know they need to know what to do in this electoral process coming up in 2027. This is the nation that we have. The goal of this podcast is to appeal and speak to your conscience that you do what is right. You do what is right. You literally do what is right. Go out there, register, get your PVC, and wait for election day, and then you show up. Okay, so let's get right into it. Now, I want us to imagine again. You know, in this podcast, we like to imagine. I love it because once you can see something in your mind, makes the reality clearer. Just imagine that you're organizing an important meeting. The future of your community depends on the decisions made in that room. You sent out all the emails, all the invites, everyone received the date, everyone knows what's at stake because you shared the agenda of the meeting. You know, it was a thoughtful process. You shared it, you did all the things that were necessary. You even went on to create some kind of jingle to get people to participate. And then on the day of the meeting, most of the thoughtful people decided not to come. Some people sent you a response saying, oh, they were sick. Some said they were busy. Some said they had to work that day. Some people said, please, it's not that close. I'm not interested. They literally called you and told you they were not interested. Now, that scenario is the description of what happens when most of the thoughtful people decided not to come. Their excuses of being tired, being busy is valid. Now, let's bring that to the election process, to your civic responsibility process. Some people believe that nothing will change. Nothing can ever change. Some people think that their voice doesn't matter. Who knows them? They live in some village. Who hears? Nobody knows them. So they think that because nobody knows them, their vote won't count. Some simply just assume that other people will handle it. So they've relegated that responsibility. Just like they believe that it's somebody else that's going to pick up the trash that they threw on the floor. Just like they think that they will mess up a public bathroom and it's somebody that should go there and clean it up. And these are adults, by the way. The meeting that you scheduled, that few people showed up and majority didn't show up, that meeting will still go on. Yes? Yeah. And decisions will be made. Yes? If policies were part of the agenda, those policies will be adopted, whether those people showed up or not, right? What that also means is that if there were resources that were supposed to be allocated, it will be allocated. Yes or no? Yeah, great. So the only thing that changed was that those that were, in quotes, supposedly supposed to show up. Those that were mm, learned, those that were community members didn't show up. The people that cared the most didn't show up. That right there is what happens and how the leadership vacuums are created in our system. That's how it's created in our system. A lot of people believe that if they refuse to participate, right, nothing will happen. So it's almost like they're trying to sabotage the system, thinking that their absence will mean they have frustrated the system. Newsflash, your absence doesn't frustrate the system. Should I tell you what your absence on election day does? It does the opposite. Something else will happen. Somebody else that showed up will make a decision that will be implied. Somebody else will take the lead. Somebody else will benefit because you were not there. You have now created a vacuum that needs to be filled. Your silence did not make a loud noise. Mm-mm. It was actually silent. But what it allowed those that do electoral fraud to do is that you've given them the beautiful opportunity that they've been hoping for to go in there and infiltrate the system and create havoc, manipulate the numbers. Why? You were not plenty after all. Were you there to say 500 people showed up? No, you were in your house. You had excuses why you shouldn't show up. You traveled, you went on vacation, you turned election day to mini vacation, the day to get your hair did, the day to get your 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 side hustle project completed. You ignored one of the most powerful responsibilities that you have as a citizen of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. You abandoned it because you feel like your silence is going to, your absence is going to mean nothing. Your silence doesn't create neutrality. Something must tilt to one side. It will create an opportunity for whoever is willing to show up. The thugs show up. The, in quotes, poor people show up. Where are all the educated and learned people when it's time for election? We are too comfortable. We don't want to sweat. But now that there is no light and your estate can no longer use your service charge to give you 24 hours light, how is the market looking like? Are you not still sweating? How many electric rechargeable fans have you gone through? How's your solar panels holding up? How much are you paying to get those things installed? How are the prices of market food prices? How are the food price market food prices? How are they affecting your budget monthly in your home? All because on election day you chose comfort over the general good of a nation. You chose to go the way that seemed right to you. But the end is the judgment that we are seeing right now. There's a phrase that is attributed to a philosopher. A philosopher. His name is Edmund Burke. The phrase goes thus: the only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is for good men to do nothing. I'll say that again for those at the back that did not hear me. The only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is for good men to do nothing. Whether or not those were his exact words, whether it was wrong, whether they tweaked it, I don't know, but I found it online, verified it to an extent, and I'm sharing it here. That principle continues to endure because it captures something. A vacuum is never empty. Something will always fill it up. When responsible people, responsible citizens withdraw, you have automatically made it easy for someone else to step in. In the last election, I was opportune to vote in Victoria Garden City, Ikota, Lagos, Nigeria. There was no single hoodlum. There was no hoodlum like that. Do you know why? That entire VGC community, they showed up Oh my God. The way they showed up for election, it is something that needs to be studied, regardless of all of the drama that happened, all the cancellations, the sudden difficulties that randomly popped up. They stood their ground. For the first time in my entire adult life, I saw three generations come to the polling unit to vote. I saw grandparents, parents, and their 18-year-olds. So you know that these are like people that are about to get into university. They came as a family to the polling unit with chairs, came with a cooler of drinks, food. You will know that this family, they didn't come to play games. They didn't come to play. Grandparents, gray. Parents, slightly gray. Children were there. Three generations. What do you think those grandparents are teaching their children? And then some of us will say, my votes don't count. Please don't say that. Do that. At least we're in 2026. You should have some form, some, at least some very little shred of critical thinking left in our minds. Yeah? And we should be able to think and say, if my vote doesn't count, why do they pay money? Why do they ensure that people don't come outside? Why is it that there's violence? Why are they stealing the boxes? Because if it doesn't count, they will do whatever and leave the boxes there and go up there and manipulate. But they can't do that. They need you to sit at home on a day where you're to exercise your civic human responsibility. They need you to sit at home. So when you sit at home, you are enforcing that narrative that you said that your vote does not count. For those of us that go to vote, our vote did count. It showed. At least those in Lagos can testify that their votes counted. Because there was a certain party that won, and it was not because people knew who was there, it was because of the perception of the leader. That was why they went and voted for those people. So please, before we jump on the bandwagon of votes don't count, let us do a bit of critical thinking. Your vote counts. They will not send rice, beans, gari, palm oil, groundnut oil, money, all those things to people every 4 years when it's time for voting if it doesn't count. It does. It's just that those, and people say the people they give this money to, oh, they are the ones causing the problem. What have you done to ensure that people don't collect that money? Last episode, we talked about volunteering. Can a group of you educated, all of us that are educated elites, I'm using elite in quotes, yeah? Can we go and start to do grassroots education? That's volunteering. That is you making an impact. You have 2 weekends. You can choose one. Because you see, this is me. This podcast you see is as a result of me sitting down trying to find a solution and me coming up with a solution. I didn't just complain. I complained and preferred the solution. So whilst you're saying that your vote doesn't count, what have you done to solve that problem? Let's talk about the voters' turnout, right? The election comes, it happens, a winner is declared, right? Then there's the second part, which is the most important part of the story, those that stayed at home. The low voters turnout doesn't mean that there were fewer votes on the in the ballot boxes. Oh. It means that there were fewer people who had a more compelling reason to show up. It means that there were people with fewer, the people that had perspective of the power of their votes were fewer, while the majority stayed at home. Comfort. And I keep asking us, how has that comfort now benefited all of us? All of us that stayed at home last 3 years election. How does that comfort look like for you today? That small decision you made is the consequence we are dealing with right now. When just a minority come out to vote, it means that the decisions are made by just those few people. The slice, a very thin slice of the society, while everyone else, both those that participated and those that did not participate, will benefit from the consequence of that decision or indecision. Democracy becomes weaker when the participation of the citizens becomes optional. Voting cannot be optional for us. It is as serious as the air that we breathe. So now we are wondering, why do we suddenly have a high rise of fake goods and products within our nation, Nigeria? Do you ever think about that? Do you know that it's as a consequence of the people you have voted in office? If you put a CEO of a business that does not know anything, right? Do you think he can call out the CFO if the CFO is doing something wrong? I want to ask you a very good question. If you have an organization, you, the CEO, you are dumb, you know nothing. How do you identify when the CFO is going wrong? Can you tell the CFO that, this balance sheet is not balancing? Why are our assets reducing this way? Why did we pay so much bank charges? Can you decipher, can you extrapolate the meaning of your bank statement when you see it? Or will you just say, okay, it's bank statement ready. Okay, okay, okay. File it up, file it up. Thank you so much for the work. You now affirm the thief in your organization. Like, thank you for all the credible work you do. Why? You don't understand finance. I'm not saying go in depth in finance. I'm saying have a very light version of understanding, some credible form of understanding of what a financial statement looks like. So that if your CFO is playing tricks on you, you can easily say, these numbers, something is off. You can easily see it. But if you know nothing, how do you call it out? So when you have a leader in office that cannot put in credible people that knows the onions, how do you think the people that will be at the system to make sure that fake goods are not brought into our countries, fake goods are not manufactured, fake goods are not sold, how do you think that will pan out? Can they even differentiate between a fake and an original product as a leader? Not to now talk of putting the right person. Um what does the job description of someone who's supposed to regulate food, um, food, drugs, and NAFDAC? What does that? Who should that kind of person look like? You see, we need to understand that election is just beyond that day. That day you go and vote. The ripple effect of elections is so grandeur that if you don't have that bird's eye view, you will continue to think that your vote doesn't count and you want to take comfort in that mediocre thinking, not knowing that you are literally using your hand to dig your own grave and you are saying that the nation is not working. And let me show you something. If you're a parent, male or female, that never attends your child's PTA meeting, there's a strong chance that you will never participate in an election. It's a behavioral thing, it's a habit thing. If you don't attend things that has to do with your family, let's say, for example, you and your wife or you and your husband, you're supposed to do marriage counseling every month, but you feel like it's too hard, there's a strong chance that both of you don't vote. You know why? If your marriage is important to you, you will know that you need to work on it. Why? You have never been married before. Even if you've been married before, you probably failed in that marriage and you're bringing that failure mindset into this new institution. So you will think that wise people who failed before will be more intentional in their next marriage. But no, we leave it to, you know what I said in the last episode? By God's grace. By God's grace. I go do am later. Come to your child's PTA meeting later, not now. I have a lot of work. Let's do our estate meeting. Later. Right now, my table is full. Your wife, your husband comes. Let's watch this video to help our marriage later. Don't, not now. Your child, daddy, let's play later. Later, I'm busy. You keep pushing it, and you have seen that same attitude is what you have carried to your electoral process. Nothing concerns you. If it does not have any direct impact on your stomach, on the bottom line of your card, of your account, bank account, you're not interested. If it's not money driven, You're not interested. You don't see the value in community associations, community engagement. You don't see the value in you saying, I have been in this industry that I work in for 10 years. Can I find somebody that's just getting into the industry and mentor them so that the time it will take them to get to where I am at, it will be shortened by 5 years? No. Why? Selfishness. We are selfish. We just think about ourselves, me, myself, and I. How many of us citizens have ever attended a local consultation, right? Local government public hearings, civic forums. Do we even know what that is? Every time you go to those civic public hearings, local government meetings, and Nigerian citizens are absent, that absent voice, that seat in that office that's empty, could have been the voice that would have shaped that meeting to have a better outcome. One of the greatest myths in public life is this: if I don't participate, someone else will. Newsflash. Why don't we look at it differently and say something like this? Perhaps if I share my values when I go for these meetings, if I go there and ask intelligent questions, if I go there with my interest and defend my interest, if I go to those meetings, show up and fight for the future that I hope to see for my children, for the next generation, that is where we begin representation. And that is where that representation will now lead to participation. But if we continue to sit in the comfort of our homes and say things like, it doesn't matter, votes don't count, after all, they will rig it, after all, there will be election fraud, after all, there will be insecurity. A lot of us are just delusioned in this whole political affair. If you go back, you can go and listen to the first episode, second episode, you would see the strategies I shared on how we can participate and prevent all of the vices that happen during election. Those things happen because the people that come out are not more. They're not much. And the very rich as well, they ignore it because to them, they already know what's good. They have a lot of money, right? So they feel like that money they have will cushion the effect of what? Of the economy on them. But they forget that there's an ecosystem that's built to support the wealthy. You have drivers, you have tailors, you have gatemen, security attendants, domestic staff, tutors for your children. Those people have that, they don't earn what you earn. And no matter how much you pay them, they also have the tutor that teaches your children at home has a wife, 5 siblings that are constantly demanding on them. So if the weight of the economy is hitting their family, that weight will hit them, and that weight will hit how they show up for your children. So to say that I'm wealthy, the money I have is very long, so Nigeria does not concern me, I will not vote. Good, that's great. There's the upside of it. Your children go to school. Do you know how much they pay the teachers in your children's school? No matter how big the school is. Do you understand? Do you know that you say, okay, let's say they even pay the teachers in your child's school ridiculous amounts of money. Let's say they pay them very well. The cleaner, do they pay them very well? What if that cleaner makes a mistake because they are thinking of the bills they need to sort out because the economy is the inflation is increasing and they don't have the capacity to fulfill their family obligations. And so during the work, they don't pay attention to the task they are doing. And one day they spill water, forget to clean it, and your own child is running, boom, and the child slips and fall. And the next thing, your child is in the ICU. Do you see how you say it doesn't affect you, but it does affect you? Your cook in your kitchen, even if you are paying your cook 1 million naira a month, if that cook has 7 siblings that can't find a job, that 1 million naira will do nothing for that person. Because that 1 million naira will feed his family, feed those that are around him. And in the process of thinking, if he just mistakenly pours the wrong thing in that meal, you will consume it. You that is wealthy, that thinks that nothing can touch you. You will consume it. And what's the consequence? He will say he's sorry. You can throw him in jail. You can even kill him. But the effect has already been done. So what I'm saying is for us to say that you are rich, you are poor, you are middle class, you are upper middle class, you are lower middle class, whatever class you are in, so it doesn't affect you, your vote doesn't count, is you being selfish, is you being a non-participatory citizen of your nation. And the goal for us is to appeal to your conscience to see voting as a civic duty that is mandatory for you as a citizen of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and not to make any excuses. History has reminded us that progress is rarely inevitable. It happens when the people of a certain nation decides to act. When communities choose to improve because someone volunteers, that is progressive growth. When the schools in communities begin to engage parents more, that is community development. When businesses become ethical because the leaders of that business chose integrity over getting rich quick, that right there is what can transform our democracies. Democracies mature when the citizens refuse to disappear, when they choose to actively participate in the system. That's how democracy works. So, civic and disengagement. I want to quickly talk on that. Civic disengagement. So, why does civic disengagement happen, especially among people who are clearly capable, informed, and I dare say frustrated enough to complain loudly on social media, in their workplaces, all across the nation? I want to bring a piece of psychology in this matter that I want to talk about. That's the civic disengagement. In the 1960s, a couple of psychologists, right, they did an experiment, and that experiment was published. And after a widely publicized case in which bystanders failed to intervene during an attack in New York, let me speak normal, plain English. So this they found they tried to understand why people were there was an attack happening, but people just stood by the side and did nothing. So they wanted to understand why that happened. So they found the result of what they found is what now became the bystander effect. Other people call it the diffusion of responsibility. The core finding was almost counterintuitive. Why? The people, the more people who are present and aware of a problem are less likely any are less likely to act, because everyone just assumes that somebody else in the group will step in. It's the case of someone is drowning, everybody's turning their neck. It is also part of the Olodo effect. Yeah, there's a problem, nobody want to stop, go there and do the work to solve the problem. Everybody's like, maybe A will do it, maybe B will do it, maybe C will do it. So we're always expecting somebody else to solve the problem, not us taking the initiative to solve the problem. That's why it's called the bystander effect. The more people who are aware and present in the knowledge and understanding of a problem, the likelihood that they would act is very minimal, because there's always that assumption. You see, the thing of assumption is coming here again. There's always that assumption that somebody else will do it. So the responsibility continues to spread so thin across the crowd that it becomes easy for each individual to feel personally exempted for it. Now, let's apply that to Nigeria. Over 90 million people register to vote. If you are one person among the 90 million, it is dangerously easy for you to quietly just single and say that, oh, my single act of civic engagement will not improve the outcome, Joe. Let me just sit at home. Remember, if 90 million of us all of us are saying nothing will affect, it will not change anything. And surely enough, because we are more that stay at home, that is what is going to happen. Multiply that by that private reasoning, sounding, thinking. Multiply that by the 1 million people, 2 million, and then 20 million, and then 30 million. you will now realize that ah, millions of people are just at home. That's a trend now. Why? We adopted the ideology that votes don't count. That's a lie. Nobody has to be lazy or unpatriotic or indifferent for this to happen. Everyone just has to rationally think themselves out from showing up. In isolation, you stay. The comfort of your house, you stay. You don't want to stand. You don't want this heat. You don't want rain to fall on you. You don't want dirt to your shoes to be dirty. Many reasons, and they are all valid to why for why you can show up. And when you look at this, it reframes civic disengagement in an important way. How? It is often not so. Oftentimes, right? There's this thing we say. Sometimes we say apathy or the sense of not caring, because the thing you care about, you will find a way to make sure that that thing goes well. So a lot of us, and I understand everyone has different emotions. The elections have affected different families in different ways. But I want to appeal to your conscience to please understand that Nigeria's declining turnout is not helping us. It's not. To say we will not vote, but we are ready to protest is not wise. Let us protest with our votes. Buy a chair and carry your chair to your polling unit with umbrella, with cooler, everything, full kit. Be ready to stay there from morning till night, just to ensure that your process is done. You can do it in shifts. You can come together. I feel like this coming election should bring us as a nation closer than ever. That none of the political parties or politicians will be able to divide us with anything, whether it's religion, whether it's language, state, ethnicity, all those things they use that always works. We should have grown past that. The lines of oneness in our nation has already been blurred. You see people marrying from different parts of the nation. So why does a politician just knows that if they come and say this person is this tribe, this person is this tribe, all of us will just shake and be angry and be. Our ancestors are not proud of us. I dare say that. Because what they left behind and what is now is a far cry from what is supposed to be. A form of protest should be with our voters card. Go there and show up. It is very important because disengagement is contagious in exactly the same way engagement is supposed to be. So if you are head of house in a home, father, mother, you both have to lead your family by going to get the PVC. Start to have these discussions on the table. And I'm not saying just be bastardizing politicians and that's not what we are talking about. That is the least way of engagement. What I am saying is politics, government, community development, community issues should not be discussed on the dining table. Engage your children. Show them that you are participating. Get your voters card. Show it to them. Tell them the process. Tell them the stories. So that when they will look forward to being 18, 18 will not just be the time when they leave your house. No, 18 is also the time where they become participants in this nation. Let us look at having a record high of 18-year-olds participating in elections. Get your children to read newspapers. Let us start to be a politically literate economy. This is very important. The more we disengage, the more we make excuses, the more these issues will continue to linger, the more the solution will be far from us. There was some political scientists sometime. They also did a study to understand low turnout in elections, particularly at the local government level. right? Because again, some of us just feel, let's just vote for the president. We don't want to vote for state governors because it's too. Let's not vote for local government chairman. It's too hard. You don't participate. Do you know that in the cadre of leadership in Nigeria, the one that affects you the most is who you put as your local government chairman? I have some stats to read today. And what's that stat? It is the amount of money. I'm checking my phone. That's why I'm looking down so that I can bring up the amount of money that the presidency gives to your local government chairman. Is this one to your local government? Yeah. The money they give to local government chairman, the money they give to their performance, yes, their performance reviews, all of the things, it's online. So to think that, I'm still checking, yeah. Yes, monthly allocations to different state governors. 2023 versus 2025, 2026. I have the numbers here. So when to also say that is the president's fault it is an ignorant statement to make, because the presidency allocates resources to the state governors. That the state governors will not allocate resources to the local government. There are people that have the opinion that local governments should be on their own, they should not be the state. I'm not here to argue that. But I'm trying to say that for us to say it is only presidential election that I'm going to vote for, I'm not going to vote for state governor because that one will be rigged. So you are cherry picking where you will show up. Instead of you to show up the whole 9 yards, even councillors, everything is dependent on us. That's why for us to sit down and think we don't have power, it's like we have been given a bazooka and we think that what we've been given to is a pen. All the councillors in your local government, you're supposed to know all of them. You're supposed to mandate them to distribute some kind of material for you to know who they are. Do your own research. All of you on your streets have meetings. Who are we going to vote for? Why is this person going to be chosen? What are they going to do? What is their I forget the name of the thing. If I remember, I'll say. This is very important. When 70 or 80% of an electorate opts out, the outcome is not decided by the people then. It is now decided by the small, tiny, organized, highly motivated fraction of people. And usually it is the people they've given money to. Meanwhile, you are not moved by money, but yet you refuse to show up because you have the assumption that. Do you know that there's a way people will be plenty on election day? They will tell hoodlums and thugs, go and scatter. The hoodlums will say yes, they will collect the money, they will go and sleep. Because the hoodlums, do you think they don't have sense? So you all think that those guys are dumb. They are not dumb. They are, I'm sure some of them in their mind, they're like, I wish these people would come outside and vote. Because when you come outside and vote, they can't do what they need to do. They have a good excuse to go back to the people that send them and say, we can't do this thing. No. The people out there, they are too much. They go, they will kill them. So please, we cannot do it. And the people that send them will understand. But when we choose not to show up, we make that opportunity good for them to do what they need to do. So we need to help the hoodlums not to be hoodlums. Why? How? By showing up. Why? Because we also want systems that would engage those guys that have been sent to come and disrupt elections. Do you think that those guys that sit under the bridge and all those things, you think they enjoy that? You think that is, if they had to redo their life all over again, they would choose that place? And then we say we don't have power. Don't say that, please. We do have the power. This is not a call for us to be panicked. That's not what we're here to do. This is a call for us to notice the pattern that repeats everywhere. Nigerians' own local government data is there to show us the report. Absence is never neutral. Somebody always inherits the space you leave behind, whether you like it or not. If you choose not to show up, it's okay. But there are people that will show up, and that majority of the people that show up will make a decision that will affect you that sat in your house. Now, I want us to talk quickly about why participation matters, even when the outcome seems uncertain. Because I've heard people say, oh, tell me, sir, what if there's now a drastic measure, something terrible happens? See, a farmer understand that there could be flood, but the farmer still goes ahead and plants during planting season. A farmer is aware that locusts can invade their farm, but still, the farmer will go out there and plant. Why is the farmer not backing them? Why? 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 I want to give you some insight. If a farmer understands that even when he goes to plant, there's a strong probability that the yields he will get from that farming season might either be bountiful or it can be really low, right? But he still goes out to go and plant. Why? He sort of, in the midst of that uncertainty, he's still going to make a decision. And he's going to bet and just trust that regardless of the outcome, he will do his part. Can we all be like farmers? When you go and invest, yeah, how do you know that that company will not pack up in two years? How are you so sure that that company will not go bankrupt in 7 years? Many times you must have seen the patterns, you understand the market, so you can make that decision. But there have been companies that they seem strong, they seem like their ducks are in a row, and then they hit something, bad investment or something that truly just changes the trajectory of that business, and they have to pull out. What do you say about that? That's the same mindset and approach I want us to approach the elections. Let's not say that because we know that there's a chance that something might go in a way that we did not plan. So that will now be a reason why we should not go out and vote. That's not it's not a cogent reason enough. It's not. Nobody should just sit down and say that disengagement is all there is. And so because they are not sure what the outcome will be, let them sit at home. Individual actions do not stay individual. They aggregate. And the aggregation compounds in a way that are eventually difficult to predict in advance. So, which is exactly why waiting for certainty before we act is us losing the strategy. Saying that your candidates, though you don't know where your candidates stand, so you're not going to get your PVC. Ladies and gentlemen, you are already losing the strategy. You're losing the whole point. Nobody who eventually becomes a part of a decisive 5% knew in advance that they will be a part of that. They simply showed up before the outcome was clear. If you check many of the billionaires, right, that made their money through different kinds of investments, they just, especially in the boom of like startups and all of those things, many of them didn't really know that, oh, this investment is going to yield. It was just a thing of taking a chance. They took a chance on companies. And that's why you hear some founders will say to their shareholders, thank you for taking a chance on us. Because the market is so different. And that for you to say, because you're not sure where a certain person is going to be, where his political party is going to be, where her political party is going to be, so you're not sure, you're not going to vote. If you pass this window that the government has given us to go and register, it's done till another 4 years. So in anticipation of, I know where this man or this woman that I'm rooting for is going to go and pitch their tent. While I wait for them to figure out what they are going to do, let me go and get my voter's card in preparation. That's a better strategy. There's this story I also want to share, and it's a story about a lady called Esther. She was a young woman who risked her position, her life, to intervene for her people. There was no guarantee that Esther had that she was going to be successful. She had an uncle, his name was Mordecai, and his response when she wanted to hesitate, right? For not going for what she was set for such a time, his response was different too. He said, if you don't go, Lady Esther, surely if you don't go, it will be different. Somebody else is going to replace you. He says to her that relief will arise from somebody else. So if you think that because you are the queen, you don't want to go speak to the king concerning your people because you think that suddenly you have escaped as his bride, nothing will touch you. Well done. Relief will come from somewhere. Do you know that Mordecai understood that even this thing that this girl is going to do, we don't know the outcome. We don't know if the king will even listen to her. That was because that was why when Esther was replying her uncle, she was like, okay, you all should fast and pray. I'm gonna go. And if I perish, I perish. There's a psychological shift that is required of us as citizens of Nigeria for us to see the nation that we desire. People who frame participation as a personal duty, an identity, something that says they say to themselves, like, I am somebody that shows up. Those are the kinds of people that can sustain civic engagement for long, civic participation for long. Yeah, I know. I know that all I'm sharing, a lot of us are just thinking like, gosh, this lady, you are just putting us in a corner. You're jamming it and jamming. Yes, I have to jam it. Because peradventure, we do this right. And our nation truly changes. Even in the midst of uncertainties. Do you know what that's going to look like? What that's going to look like is that we're going to have incredible school systems. We're going to have quality pay for our military, police officers, navy, all the security bodies across Nigeria. What that's going to be to reduce the poverty. I mean, do you know what it's like when we have a great president, great governors, great local government chairman, people that go there selflessly to work and do the work? Do you want to imagine what Nigeria is going to look like? That means you can drive from Lagos to Kano on the road. You can use the train. You can use an airplane, depending on your choice. You and your children can use the train for road trips, or you can even do like a bus ride without the fear that anybody's going to stop your bus on the road. Do you know what that feels like? The price of goods and services stable, income level stable. Nigeria is going to boom. Your business will even boom. You will not even need to have 5,000 side hustles that you are navigating. All these plenty side hustles that every day, today you are doing this, tomorrow you are doing that because you are not sure of certainty. You don't need to do that. So please, that I don't know if my vote will change anything. Let's drop that thought process. I don't know if my voice will matter. Let's put it in the corner. I don't know if my effort will succeed. Put it in the corner. Don't worry. The uncertainty that has never been a good reason to abandon is what? Responsibility. That's why farmers plant seeds without the guarantee. That's why entrepreneurs start their business in Nigeria without guarantees. That's why parents raise children without guarantees. People get married without any guarantee. They just go in trusting that this thing will work. That's why we act, because some responsibilities are worthwhile, regardless of certainty. Citizenship belongs in that category. Now, perhaps the greatest danger of any nation is not the bad people becoming active, but the good people who are comfortable watching by the sidelines. History has rarely been kind to societies where decent people surrendered the public square to others. I hope this podcast appealed to your conscience. I hope you are inspired to get up and go. Get your PVCs Register, open the website, go on the website page. You can do it from the comfort of your home. You don't even need to go anywhere. Mandate everybody in your company, your organization, your office to do the same. Operation Get, show your PVC, show your registration. It must be complete. For the Oaks of Africa, we truly believe that every citizen has influence. And even though not everyone will hold a public office, even though not everyone will become famous, but every one of us can participate in a conversation, in every vote, in every act of service, in every honest decision, in every child that we mentor, we teach, in every neighbor we help, in the communities that we strengthen, in the engagements that we hold with our leaders. These seemingly small acts are the little habits that builds for the resilience of our nation. I'll leave you with this question. When the future of when the future asks, who showed up to shape Nigeria? Will your absence tell a story? Or will your participation tell a story? Because history is not written by those who act. It is shaped by those who choose not to. Thank you for listening to For the Oaks of Africa podcast. If this episode challenged you, inspired you, made you get up and do the registration online, share this with someone who believes their voice don't matter, so that the same effect it had on you, it will have of them. Subscribe, please leave a review. Join us next time as one of our biggest questions facing our nation will be answered. Until then, don't leave empty spaces where your voice, your vote, and your contribution should be, because the future is always shaped by those who show up. Thank you so much for being here and enjoy the rest of your day.